So picture this. You're in the bustling heart of Nairobi, Kenya, and a truly remarkable sight just stops you in your tracks. It's a man walking through the city streets, and he's seemingly crowned with wild raptors. He's this figure of instant fascination and, a ton of curiosity. So let's dive in and find out who he is. Yeah, this isn't some scene from a movie. As he moves through the city, vendors literally pause what they're doing. Police look on, and crowds just gather with their phones out. And you hear these shouts, "Birdman! Birdman!" trailing after this 27-year-old, Rogers Aloo Magua. He's become a living landmark in Kenya's capital. So who is this man really? How in the world did he form this incredible bond with wild birds? I mean, this image went completely viral, but the story behind it? Well, it's one of profound loss, incredible resilience, and a connection that has kept him going through more than a decade of life on the streets. To really get the man, we have to go back to the boy. Magua's unique connection with birds wasn't born on the streets of Nairobi. Nope, it started way earlier, in a place he remembers as a paradise, long before tragedy just completely changed the course of his life. What's really striking here is just how quickly his life unraveled. He started out in Nakuru, a city that's famous for its bird life, where he'd actually sneak into the national park just to watch flamingos and pelicans. But then, at just 13 years old, his mother, who was his only parent, died, suddenly. And just like that, he was left without a home, kind of drifting between relatives before, eventually ending up on the streets, a world away from the birds he loved so much. So, what is life actually like for Magua and this community he's a part of? Well, it's a harsh reality, one that most of us who just pass by never really see. He calls this community his street family, a group that's really bound together by shared struggle and, honestly, a deep desire for belonging. The challenges they face are just immense. Many of them are orphans or have fled abusive homes, so they're carrying this deep trauma. They sleep wherever they can, parks, footpaths, abandoned buildings, and they're facing cold nights and constant harassment from the police. To cope with all that, some turn to cheap solvents, like Moftin and Dege, which is a type of jet fuel, just to numb the pain. Magua says they always feel feared and misunderstood by the public, just living a life of constant insecurity. And this right here just brilliantly illustrates the paradox of his entire existence. On one hand, he talks about the fear. People will clutch their bags, hide their phones when he or his friends approach. But the second they see the birds, everything changes. That fear just turns into fascination. Anger melts into smiles. The birds are like a bridge between these two worlds that almost never connect. And this connection with birds, it was about to become his salvation. About 4 years ago, something happened that would completely redefine his life on the streets. A single, wounded bird literally stumbled into his world and gave him a real reason to hope again. It was such a simple yet profound moment. He was sharing a meal with his street family, and this tiny, starving black kite just appeared. They offered it some food, and instead of flying away, it climbed right onto Magua's hand. He decided to name him Johnson after Nairobi's governor, because he saw him as the governor of the other birds. Right, and this is the crucial point. In his own words, Johnson was so much more than a pet. He was a lifeline. Magua says this bird literally eased the depression of street life and became this tangible symbol of hope for him, a reason to keep going when it was really hard to imagine a better future. And Johnson's story, sadly, isn't all that unique. It's actually part of a much bigger environmental issue. You see, Nairobi was once known for its lush forests, but it's rapidly losing its trees to development. With every tree that's cut down, nests are destroyed, and chicks like Johnson are left orphaned, which creates this ongoing cycle of rescue for Magua. So this brings us to June of 2024. Magua and his birds were about to be thrust from the streets of Nairobi onto screens all around the world. He became a symbol. But as we're about to see, becoming a symbol is a very complicated thing. When young Kenyans took to the streets to protest the rising cost of living, Magua felt like he had to join. As an advocate for his street family and as an environmentalist, he wanted his voice and their struggles to be part of that call for a better future. And his presence was just electric. Protesters and journalists swarmed him, but all that attention came at a terrifying cost. The police targeted him, probably assuming he was some kind of leader. He was beaten and then shot in the head with a rubber bullet, which he believes was actually aimed at Johnson. And in one viral moment, as tear gas filled the air, his birds just refused to leave him, clinging fiercely to his shoulders. And this is the heartbreaking paradox of his whole story. His image went everywhere. He became famous, visible to millions of people. But that visibility didn't change his reality one bit. He was still homeless, still struggling. The world saw the spectacle, but it completely missed the person. But despite all the disappointment, Magua hasn't given up. In fact, his experience has only made him more determined. He now has this really clear vision for a future that heals both the people and the animals that have been forgotten by the city. Just look at this contrast. Right now, his daily reality is working at a dump site, sifting through trash for less than $2 a day, just to buy meat for his birds. But his dream? It's to build a shelter, a sanctuary for both street children and rescued birds. He wants to teach conservation and create a real, supportive family where everyone is looked after. And at the heart of it all is this really simple but powerful philosophy. People are always asking him how he tames wild birds. His answer is just love and care. He believes that if you make something or someone feel safe and loved, they will give that love right back. And for him, that principle applies equally to birds and to people. So the story of the Birdman of Nairobi really leaves us with this question. In a world that's so full of viral images and fleeting attention, what does it truly take to look past the spectacle, to see the struggle, the hope, and the profound humanity of the person at the center of the frame?